Ladies and gentlemen, I'm yours truly, the legend himself, Labzy, aka the guy that you thought that was weird, ended up being the best motherfucker you ever met in the history of your life, and I can prove it too, even though I shouldn't. The most loyal, the most honest, and the most respected, you dig. Now, my next guest is a music video director. He's been doing it. He's been doing it for some time. I've checked out some of his stuff, and it's very good work. You can tell he's very passionate. And Danny Hustle Productions up in here, and hopefully it decides to work because it's not doing a great job right now. There we go. Finally.
Okay, can you hear me loud and clear?
Yeah. Yes.
Beautiful. What's going on, man?
What's going on, mate? First of all, man, thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time to jump on in here with me.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Now, first off, so how, like, you got to take me back, man. Like, how did the idea of you becoming, or Danny Hustle Productions even start? Like, where did all this begin?
So it happened after. See, it's funny. So before I started as established as a business, I was just doing it as like a hobby. After film school and everything else, I learned the uncomfortable truth that it was a hard business to try to get into, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, but it was I could say it was a good experience because I learned a lot. Even there was stuff I was even learning that wasn't even from the teachers, so it was quite interesting. So so after that, for a number of years, I just started accumulating sort of things here and there. So I was like, I started out, actually, one of my first projects outside of film school was a music video with my homegirl, Dove. And yeah, we started, and then but the thing was, again, because it was a hobby, I wasn't fully taking it seriously at that point. And it was only in the pandemic, 2020, where I started sort of accumulating I started accumulating certain film equipment and everything else to add more to the hobby and such. And then years to follow, again, I started doing just favors here and there, music videos to advertisements. I did a little interview slash documentary with a good friend of mine. And after that, and then started doing some more videos for people and stuff. Again, it was just it's just sort of, again, still in the hobby stage until late last year. Was And this is how sort of the name sort of came into fruition as well, because I've been called so many nicknames in the past. It's crazy. Frenchie, Fonzie at one stage. My DJ name is Danza. And yeah, anyway, and I was talking to a friend of mine. He said to me, um, and he goes, because I said, "Oh, I'm just doing this, this, this." And he goes, "Mate, I swear, like you're always doing something, and you're always wearing your hustler's hat or whatever, like here." And I said, and he goes, "Oh, instead of calling you Dan Hubel, which is my last name," he goes, "I'm gonna call you Dan Hustle." And I sort of laughed that off. I'm like thinking, maybe if I end up getting into hip hop as as a rapper or something like that, maybe or whatnot. Anyway, and then after that, a few weeks later, I'm working with a fellow artist, my homegirl Ivory Archer. Shout out to Ivory Archer, she's absolutely great. And I've been working with on her video, and she put in a post. She goes, "Thanks to DH Productions," and I'm like, interesting. And then it was kind of like it sort of clicked to me. I said, look, the industry itself, I mean, I could keep on trying to pump out my CV and portfolio everywhere I go, and it's like I'm not getting anywhere and all that sort of stuff. And it's kind of like, well, I used to live on the ideology of I'll do this if it's necessary. So I turned something that was mindset of something that was just do it for necessary to something that is a necessity. So then with that, I was like, well, I think I'm going to take this start taking this seriously, and that's when I came up with. I said the name Dan Hustle's cool. I mean, what about Danny Hustle Productions or Entertainment? At first, I was thinking Danny Hustle Entertainment, and then my homie goes, "Oh yeah, you could do it if you were getting into, I don't know, adult film industry stuff like that." I'm like, "Well, never say never," but no, but no, but yeah, no. But then I saw, what about Danny Hustle Productions? He goes, "Yeah, that sounds all right." So form a few things, and then that's when Danny Hustle Productions was born.
Nice. No, I
Yeah,
love that, man. So,
yeah.
so when it comes to, so because you said you were doing it like as a hobby and stuff like that, what was it about like filming and stuff like that that really like that made you feel like, wow, this is what I want to do? Like, what was it about it?
I think it was more about uh, more about creating something. Like I've always liked creating something, and I've been doing that for years. Like I used to be part of music, I'd be wanting to get involved in that as well. And it was more so just about getting that, like having like a creative outlet, having a creative outlet, and be able to just to make something, and then put it into, make it sort of reality in that sort of sense. And it was also kind of like that. I was so I call it the creative bug, and it's kind of like when you're, especially when you, especially in my line of work, majority of my clientele are music videos. Like I could sit back and listen to a track and think, how would that look? How would that look? I mean, if I was to do something like that or whatever, how would that look? Or if I was writing a script, how would I, or if I was writing a script, or if I was whatever I was reading, everything else, how would I create that? So it was really much so with really just uh, wanting to create, if anything, you know what I mean?
Okay. No, awesome.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when you have rappers that come to you, or whoever it is that want you to make something,
hmm
um, do you have to write a script as well to kind of give you an idea? Well, not a script, sorry. I mean like a storyboard and those types of things to look at. Okay, how am I going to do this? Whether okay, I'm going to have the camera here, or like do you write down the planning first, or does that all just come into your mind and that has to really depend on the environment of what the artist wants?
A bit of both. So it
Mm.
would, first of all, it would start off with, like, they would give me a track, or if I would listen to a particular track, and I'd be in that sort of creative mind frame, right?
Mm.
And then when I'm discussing with the client, whoever I'm working with, I would be like, right, well, so for this case, I would, this is how I feel it could be done. I'll jot some ideas, and then even make a thing, which in the film industry we call a treatment. So it's
Okay.
kind of like a storyboard, like sort of like like an outline of each scene, or what was going on, and then sort out how I'm going to go about doing it. And then sometimes I'll do shot lists,
Mm-hmm.
like, so make certain shots. It's in particular if I'm wanting to capture a particular thing or whatnot. But yeah, that's how I would usually go with not just music videos as well, but yeah, just with film in general. Really, it's kind of basically it is. It's the same sort of concept of like writing a script. The only difference is you have, in some cases, especially in the editing process, you've got a timeline. You've got to fit what you need to do in a particular, you know, frame or whatnot. You can sort of do, like, if you're having like extra scenes, or having like a particular scene, especially if you're making a story, so it doesn't have to like fully follow the actual track line itself. Again, depending on the situation. So yeah, it would most of the time be all written, discussed first, and at the same time written in the process, so we remember what we had thought of as well. So yeah.
Okay. Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
okay, so take me on a day on the set, right? So say if you got your cameras everywhere, you got your rappers ready. How
Mhm.
long, like, are we looking at a whole day production, or is it kind of half day, or do you have to kind of split it? Like, talk to me about that type of process because you have the ones that some artists want to do like a 60-second line of quick video and then they kind of
Mhm.
post it, and then you have some that are like, oh no, we're gonna do it in different days and stuff like that. Has that have you ever done that type of stuff? And does that get emotionally draining sometimes because it's a lot? Because it does sound like it's a lot.
Well, yeah, look, it really depends on the situation. Like,
Mhm.
so for example, probably one of the times that I'll probably either ask to do like a second day or whatnot is depending just on timing and depending on like timing and on what we can fit into that particular day. So it's fairly normal that it would come to that stage of like, again, it'll be all planned out. It'll be all planned out and it'll be time framed as well. How long we got on this particular set, especially if we've booked a particular set for a particular time, and then go from there. Like, I mean, like there are times where I was lucky and I just ended up just shooting what's the name just a video for like one day. Actually, yeah, there's been a couple of times I've actually had to do that. One for my homie Rich OD,
Mhm.
and also another couple of guys from Newcastle. Shout out to Japs and Bellick. And so I had to do that one day because I had to fly back. I think that next weekend or so. But anyway, so there would be times where it would be that if it was necessary, I would say, okay, so because of timing, let's focus. Let's get these shots done at that point, and then our next availability and all that. That's where we'll go. Okay, let's book it another day to shoot these shots. I mean, it's fairly normal like any other film set. I mean, and look, it does get draining. It definitely does, especially if it's like long ass day and all that sort of stuff. And look, what I mean, especially because I'm a one man crew. It's if people if any, any people that anyone that wants to help out, man, I'm totally grateful for. You know what I mean? So, but it does take a lot, but at the same time, it's a great learning experience as well. And plus, also, I guess in a funny sort of way, it tests my endurance as well. So it'll
Okay.
be yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
No, it's sick, man. So,
Mm.
okay, and when it comes to like, has there ever been any locations where you kind of had to leave in mid film because whether if you're in the wrong spot or because there's always because I've seen that some moments where people that are filming they don't realize they're not allowed to film in some places and they didn't
Yeah.
realize that. Has that ever
Hmm.
happened to you, especially in mid film?
Um, come to think, it may have been. As thing, I've worked on so many sets on
Yeah.
other projects and everything else. It probably has at one stage. Um, and that's but that's another thing as well. I'd like to. I'm a stickler when it comes to locations as well, especially when it comes to avoiding the popo,
Okay.
or avoiding anything that would deem as of like authority or anything else, or anything's got to get me in trouble. So like, I like to make sure that we can film at certain. It's okay to film at certain places or whatnot. Um, but yeah, look, there are there probably have been times, and there probably will be at times. Touch wood, that it would it would happen especially if we're just sort of shooting from a whim or whatnot. But it's best to be prepared. My philosophy is always prepare for the worst. So as I don't, I like to think positive at stages, but at the same time, I like to make sure that it's funny sort of way. I like to make sure that I'm what things I'm worried about or whatever. I am worrying, but I can at least sort of like right. So already worried about something that hasn't happened or whatever. So if it did happen or whatever, I'm at least sort of not as surprised or anything else. But yeah, look, I'm sure that there's times, and there probably will be times where, if especially we're going rogue, that I'll would probably be asked to either leave or ask what am I doing or blah 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 or whatever. I mean, again, look, there's times as well where, especially when I work with artists, they say, look, oh, I'm thinking about this particular location, and it'd be somewhere like it would be either not exactly ritzy, but it would be like a sort of a place where you probably need permission or
Yeah.
whatnot, and I'd be sort of like going, oh, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
going, dude, like how about I don't know how we're gonna get away with this shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so sometimes there are times, especially one of the videos when I'm in the middle of doing. Sometimes it has worked, like, and no one's been around. So, but yeah, I'm sure it will happen, and all of that stuff. But I think it's, if anything, it's just the best of being prepared, really.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what, and also in terms of like, because I wanna talk about like, do you sorry, I want to get my question right
Go
because
ahead, mate.
my brain's
Go ahead, mate.
everywhere myself.
All right.
Um, uh, have you ever? Is there any? Is there any moments where you thought, "Damn, I should have done this better. I should have done this a bit better. I should have done this like a bit core." Like, do you ever kind of be your own critic of your own work?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, without a doubt. I do that with everything I do.
Yeah.
Trust me. I mean, and look, and it's funny. Like even like the great, like even like some of the greatest artists and performers out there, they could be very critical thinkers about themselves. I mean, for example, I watched a interview with Michael Jackson, right?
Mm.
And and it was one interview that he had. He said that famous stage performance that he did where he first revealed the moonwalk, right?
Yes.
And there's one part where, and a part of the show, and to the us to the audience was kind of like going, dude, you can't, how can you think that wasn't that great or whatever? But he complained that I wish I would have held that sort of thing on a tippy toe a lot longer and all that. And then to us as audience members, we were like thinking, like, that's what you were worried about. I mean, so you're fine or whatever. But look, I think it's, if anything, it's sort of good and bad, because it's like it sort of makes you want to do the next one better, but at the same time it sort of gets you to that point where it's like, you know what I mean, like if you keep, having like this negative hold on yourself, that it's kind of like, oh yeah, it's all right, and everybody's like going, what the fuck are you talking about? I mean, it was, you know what I mean, like, or whatever, you know what I mean. I guess at those stages as well, and it's mainly because that we spend so much time looking at ourselves, or so much time like sort of practicing on certain things or working on certain things or whatnot, we lose sight. And so even for like moving away from it for a while and everything else, and you come back to it and everything else, you could look back and like going, yeah, look, either that could be a bit of work could be done about that or whatever. But at the end of the day, there are times like you think to myself, that's not bad. That's not bad. You know what I mean? So look, that I think anything creative we do, because let's not forget what we have in our minds and our minds is our worst enemy. What we have in our minds, we have a uh, different perception of how something would look, how something would sound, and all of that. And sometimes it'd be totally different. You know what I mean? And I guess there's always been that sort of creative curse that every creative goes through, no matter what are you in, music, film, even art or whatever. So yeah, it happens, and completely normal as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, because I've got a friend of mine who does cosplay, right?
Yeah,
And she's been her name is Yeliz. Shout out to Yeliz. She used to
better.
live in South Melbourne and now she lives in Florida, right?
Wow.
And
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
so she's
Love Florida.
she's very like full. If you look at her like Instagram, and her art is just
Yeah.
wow, right? And
Yeah.
she's coming at me saying, yeah, no, I'm not really like happy about it. I'm not really, blah, blah, blah. And just
Yeah,
as you said, I'm all confused. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this
yeah,
is incredible because
yeah, yeah.
she does a lot of like Mortal Kombat cosplays and stuff like
Love
that,
it.
right?
Absolutely.
And and she is that amazing that she has been noticed by the creator of Mortal Kombat himself, Ed Boon.
Oh,
So Ed Boon,
wow.
so
Yeah,
Ed Boon knows who she is. He retweets like
awesome.
the the pictures that the cosplay that she does,
Hmm.
and it's amazing. And then I even say to her, I said, don't overthink it.
Absolutely.
Just
Yeah.
don't overthink it. Just take your time. And she puts a lot of pressure on herself. I mean,
Yeah.
because she knows she wants to. Because I've noticed that when she plays a video game, because she's a gamer and she does streaming as well,
Uh-huh.
and and I can tell that when someone's in an outfit or whatever, I notice her that she's like her brain is working.
Yeah.
Like you can literally see all the mathematical equations coming out of her head, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's like her brain working.
Yeah.
And and then that's where people would ask, oh, would you do a cosplay like this, blah 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 blah, and then she
Yeah.
would dissect on why she how she can do it and why not she
Hmm.
can't do it,
Yes.
right? Because that's how she
Yeah.
knows how to do. She knows how to nitpick, you
Yes.
know, and and I think that, yeah, just as you said, look, every artist goes through that because they want to do the best work.
Yeah.
But then I think one of the biggest struggles is how does the next one become better than the previous?
Absolutely. See, and that's the thing. Like when it comes with like judging upon your work and everything else, if anything, it's a lot of it is motivated by comparing to others. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
look, and we've all been guilty of that. I mean, look, I would look at other people. I'll look at other people's music videos, right?
Hmm.
And and I'd be kind of like, oh, I quite like how they did this, or oh my god, wow, this nearly shits on my video and everything, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? But it just sort of recently, sort of trying to get back into that mindset of, okay, this is how they did it, as in this is how they go and everything else like that, compared to mine. What
Mm.
can either I take from that, take from that? Because at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, artists pitch other artists' ideas, you know what I mean, or concepts and everything else like that, even if they don't openly admit it. But it is that thing of, you know, sort of like in that state of, okay, do I want to do it exactly what they did, or am I wanting to do something that at least came from me? You know what I mean? I don't, like, it's one of the things about what's the name? It's one of the things about in like all sorts of art forms, from music to film and everything else. Everyone's either trying to replicate somebody else, and it's kind of like, and it doesn't. It's, if anything, you're just sort of copying something or whatnot. You know what I mean? It's not coming from you and all that. So it's kind of like with my mind frame is, okay, I can see how they did that or whatever. I would love to know how they did that, and I might even take bits pieces of that and apply it to mine or whatnot. And I'll sometimes I'll even ask other directors or other editors and everything else. I said, hey, how'd you manage to do all that and everything else and blah blah blah. And they'll most people will freely tell you. But yeah, I think it's always been like that, where it's like the whole comparison side of thing, like with your friend and everything else. I mean, great artist as she is and everything else, I can guarantee you that she's probably looked at other art, or focused more on other arts and everything else, and seen how she feels is good and everything else, and she completely neglects or forgets what she's done, which is quite
Mm.
frankly pretty normal.
Yeah.
Very normal, because again, because we, especially if we see something that catches our eye,
Mm.
we compare. It's the same thing. It's not. It's funny. It's not even the same thing with creativity. Even if it's coming to like body image. I mean, look, I go to the gym, right? I go to the gym about 5 or 6 times a week, right? And look, and sometimes I feel like I'm looking good. I like what I see in the mirror and all that, and see the progress and everything else. But there's always that one dude that walks in the door that looks absolutely jacked, and like, or there's certain attributes that they have where we'd be like, God, wish my wish my biceps were a lot bigger, or I wish, oh fuck it, look at those thighs. I mean, and everything else, and how fucking big they are. I mean, we're always comparing each other and all that, and we always have that sort of negative and that guilt in some cases. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So completely normal, really.
yeah, because because I go to the gym myself. Like I go every day after work.
Yeah.
Even on weekends, I'll sometimes do 6, sometimes do 7, just depending on what I'm doing. Right.
Yeah.
And no,
Mm-hmm.
you're absolutely right. Like there's always that one. There's always that one person that their body looks like they've had it forever.
100%. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
then it makes you
Yep.
look like oh man, you feel fat, like you feel fat again, just even though you got the
Yep.
results and shit. But like, there's
Absolutely.
always that one dude that makes you look like it's just
100%. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I'm on a weight loss journey myself. Like I've lost 11 kilos in about 2 months.
Oh,
Right?
good job. Sweet.
Yeah, and yeah, like because me going into my 30s now,
Yeah.
obviously my body's not going to be the same as when I was in the 20s. So I really got to
100%.
look after it.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and because my dad, unfortunately, he's got diabetes as well. He's old. He's in his 70s,
Yeah.
right? So,
Mm.
I thought to myself, you know what? No, I don't want to be like that. I want to be able to take care of myself. I want to be able to, live longer. So really just,
Yeah.
really just to get a chance to live properly, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
and uh, and then yeah, like I was saying, I'm getting more toned. I'm getting a bit more bigger here and there. It's just me being Middle Eastern. Everything we eat has either heavy amounts of butter or heavy amounts of oil or heavy amounts of
Yeah.
rice or carbs or all the above at the same time.
Yeah. See, it's
So
funny. See, it's
yeah,
funny as well. Like, and this is I think one of the things that I like to sort of do from time to time as well. Whether I'm working out or creatively and everything else, right? I tend to sort of like do what I got to do, but I don't focus on. I wish I could like get rid of that particular extra flab or whatever, or wish that or everything else like that. I feel, or even on a creative sense, it's kind of like, I wish I could have, I wish I could have like fixed up on that particular way of doing things or whatnot, and keep on. So but it was kind of like with me, it was like just doing it, kept on doing it, like doing something, and then you'll see the results when you actually sort of look twice. Like so, I'll like keep on working out and everything else, and it's funny. It's like I look myself in the mirror every day, but I don't physically look or whatever. And then sometimes when I kind of like either when I've or but when I like look in the mirror and I've noticed, I'm like going, hello, that that wasn't
so
there.
where did
And
this
I
come
miss
from?
your tricep, you know what I mean? Like, or whatever. I mean, like, I think things will surprise you. Even with creativity, it's kind of like, oh, I didn't, it goes, I've been doing something for so long, I hadn't noticed that I had actually improved on it. And I think it is that I've sort of just learned just yesterday because I was talking to somebody, and she was a Buddhism and everything else. And I'm I'm a Roman Catholic, but I have a lot of Buddhist and Asian influences. And she was explaining to me about the whole things of oneness, whole things of oneness, and then sort of like in some cases, sort of that's one of the reasons why we meditate, bring it back in. So, and then when you're not focusing on something that is either deemed as either you're jealous of or you're angry about or anything else, and you bring it one and everything else, and you just do what you got to do, that's when it's kind of like your things will sort of like surprise you on how much you've grown or whatever. You know what I mean? So I think that one of the sins is apparently thou shalt not judge. It's sort of hard not to. You know what I mean? Because we're all, whether we like it or not, is like we're all judging everybody. We're judging ourselves. So it's kind of like and it's something we can't help. I mean, like something that we can make, sort of adjust and try to improve on, but it's completely a human trait. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah,
Yeah, because you know what it is, because we want to be better. And it's like
absolutely.
where every time we look at either someone else, it's when we look at someone else, we think, "Fuck, why can't we be? Look, we have the same body. The human body is the same thing. The mind is the
Hmm.
same. But
Yep.
but well, so why can't we have the same thing? Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand, you know." But then
Hmm.
if it kind of defeats the purpose on us being unique, you know.
Yes. 100%.
It really
Hmm.
defeats the purpose because it's like it gives us something to strive for. And plus, how do we not know? Because
Yep.
this is the thing that kind of blew me away as well, especially when it comes to like even on the creative side or even like when it comes to working on your health or whatever. There's
Yep.
always these certain individuals that look at you as inspiration.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I
Like
get you. Yeah. Yeah.
we're too busy focusing on the people that are better than us, and then there are
Yeah.
people out there that think that we're better than them, and they're
Yeah.
getting
That's it.
inspired by that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some people
Absolutely.
said to me, they said, "Labs, bro, because of you, bro, I've noticed the results that you have, and encouraged me to go to the gym and stuff like that to be
Hmm.
better." Blah blah blah. I'm like, bro, I don't have the body that I want for you to be
Yeah.
inspired by, but I
Yeah. Yeah.
think what inspires people in general, not the result,
Yeah.
but the hard work itself.
100%. See, look, you be, and again, like and you mentioned like a good, like an interesting point about like you can inspire people without you actually knowing that you could. You know what I mean? Or without intentionally you could. Like I was, what's the name? Like I was talking to one director, I think it was like a fair few months ago, right? And I was asking him, so you got, so what's your next project? I'm always asking that. What do you got cooking?
Mm.
And he was saying like, oh, I've got this idea and blah blah blah, and he goes, actually, it was actually inspired by one of your short films, and I'm like, me?
Yeah.
I mean, like, what you talk about, Willis? I mean, like, seriously, it was like, because I'm like thinking, because I'm even going back to like some of the stuff that I was doing, like thinking, okay, I would love to know what you meant, and he told me, and he was like, and he told me what one of the short films I did, right,
Mm.
and I was like, ah, interesting, like, but it was something that you would never have thought someone could be inspired by,
Mm.
or even just like a particular concept. And what it was a short film I did at back in film school that I did with my ex girlfriend, and it was called Pink Lines, right? And it was basically about a girl. It was set in black and white, and a girl. So this woman was just sort of walking along the street aimlessly and everything else, and then she sort of gets stopped, and there's this pink sort of laser line heading down a laneway. So she's following it through, and it's leading to all these directions, all that sort of stuff. But apparently, what inspired him by that was the concept of that line, but using that concept of the line into something else. I'm like, ah, interesting, or whatever. So it's funny how even just little things that we can do can like really can really sort of like open something big for
Mm.
somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh man, it's the world. The world's a very interesting place, isn't it?
yeah,
Especially when it comes to these types of things, and also when it comes to so outside you uh creating and stuff like that, do you watch a lot of like music videos yourself and kind of think to yourself, okay, yeah, okay? Do you kind of get notes a long time, like as ideas of, okay, maybe I can do it like this, or I can do something like that? Do do you ever do that yourself, or do you ever look at some music videos and be like, why did they do that when this doesn't match? Because there are some music
yeah,
videos that don't match the song. It's like
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. See, yeah, I definitely get you. Oh, look, first question, yeah, absolutely.
Mm,
I think like, and it's funny, like I've been like that since I was a kid. Even if there's a track I listen to a radio, I would even think about what the artists could be doing, what they could be wearing, or where it could be set, or even all that sort of stuff. It's funny, like I was always thinking about that when I was a kid. But no, like I actively watch music videos. I actually prefer it. Actually, I mean, like it's funny. It's sad now because like back in the day, back in our day, like in the '90s and the naughty '80s, '90s, noughties, and all that, where rage and video hits was like the big thing, and everybody knew what the video was. Right nowadays, like like nowadays we got like YouTube now, and we can watch all that, but it's like it's not as I feel as it's not, it's one of those interesting things or whatnot. I mean, and sometimes they all look the same. Sometimes it looks
Yeah.
like the same shit or whatever. It's like going, I swear I've either heard the same song or like nearly the same, watched the same music video from God knows how many other artists that do the same shit. You know what I mean? So anyway, so
Yeah.
was like, but no, I always, when it comes with like getting inspiration, I always look at other videos. I'll even sit down with the art itself. I mean, my homie Cash is on here. I see your message. Thanks, bro. But yeah, like just recently, we were discussing how we're going to shoot even his last video and even the
Mm.
video that we're doing now. And we said, look, here's my idea of certain shots or even certain ideas of how to go about doing and everything else, and we'll discuss that. So, so I'm always sort of like searching out, you know, yeah, I definitely see that sort of thing. Like there was another example, my homie Richo D, I just did his music video Brainstorm, and that was inspired by a lot of 90s East Coast or New York City sort of vibe and all that with the set in black and white and certain angles, how it was and everything else like that. And I'm feeling I could definitely bring that to it and everything else. So yeah, like it's completely normal. And like, so what was the second one as well? What was the second question?
The
Like,
second question was talking about like how do you ever critique some music videos on how sometimes they don't match the music, like the video doesn't match the music, like and you're thinking, why did they do it
yeah,
like this where it doesn't look right?
yeah. Look, I would. I think if anything, like I I try to like respect another artist's work as much as I can. Like even though that I would think of that I would do it a little bit differently, or I would shot it a little bit differently, or anything else like that. Like I'm always in my mind, I'm always critiquing, or even or if the artist is like, for example, is at a film festival or anything else, or I'll ask him, why? So what? So I noticed you did this or whatever. So what was inspired? What inspired you to do it that way and all that sort of stuff? And they will say it. If anything, it's sort of like it's in some cases it sort of intrigues you to sort of learn not just what the artist or director was going through his head about how he was going about doing it, but also it sort of gets you into that mind frame of like, okay, now I see that you did it this way because of this, or whether because there's so many reasons why somebody did it like that. You know what I mean? So, or it's not just with music videos as well. It's film as well. Like, or he goes, oh, I wonder why he shot it. They shot it that way. Was it because of a technical issue, or was it because of that this is how they had sort of um they sort of had it in mind in their mind how it was going to look or whatever. So like look, as I think, and that's what I was saying before, we're all judging whether we like it or not. Everyone judges everybody and on anything. So it's and sometimes it's instead of like criticizing, oh, that absolutely crap to them, everything else, asking why they do it that way. You know what I mean? So it's, yeah, I think it's always been that case with any creative.
Has that ever happened to you where someone has come up to you and said, "Oh, why did you do it like this?" Or has everyone come up to you and kind of give you the same kind of criticism?
Yeah, like it's so it would, and it's not, and it wasn't even. Sometimes it's not even just the fact of filming as well, because I used to do acting, right? And and sometimes sometimes either would be an audience member or a acting coach to be asked, and he goes, "Hey, I noticed that you did this or whatnot. What was going through your mind there? I mean, why did you do that? Or everything else?" And sometimes it would percentage of the time it would be because it was either I slipped or whatever, like, or I this is some or something that could be avoided, and this is what at that time that I could think of, so that's why I left it like this or whatnot. Or it could be like another reason, you know what I mean? Like, it's always been that case. Like, there was one stage, right, that had one director. It was actually wasn't. He's a director, but he's also an editor as well. He came up to after I showed one of my short films at a film festival. He came up to me, asked me, said to me, um, "Now, is there any if it, with your film, is there any way that do you still have the footage at all?" I said, "No, I probably deleted it." He goes, "Oh, okay," because I would love to re-edit that whole film and everything else because I would have had an idea or whatever. Now, to me, like and to me and to anybody that's sort of like, your next reaction was like, "All right, go fuck yourself, mate," or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I respected his honesty. But at the same time, but it sort of like occurs to you as well that everybody has their perception of how certain things are got to be done, or how certain things should be created in that sort of sense. But the point is, though, the bottom line is, yes, everyone has their right to an opinion upon how something should look or how something should be done, and everything else. But with the artist itself, usually there is that reason. They'll always have that reason for the way that they did it. They did this particular um, performance, or they edited that particular way to maybe it was to bring out there was a particular moment that they wanted to add into that, and they really wanted that to shine or whatever. So there's always reasons. There's always reasons, and yeah, again, like I said, we're all being judged, and it's something that it's scary. No one likes to be judged and everything else, or be like told, I didn't like how you did this, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, it's always got to be the
Yeah.
case. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then I'll be honest with you, the same thing with me, man.
Yep.
Like, because I've been doing this for this is my 6th year, right?
Beautiful.
And I used to do, and this was the first 2 years I did it with a media organization, and went on all the drama and the bullshit happened. I have to go my own way, right? And when 2020 hit, the idea of what we're doing right now, came to me because everyone was doing it through digital, and
Yeah.
because obviously no one was allowed to go anywhere and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
then I thought of it as a great idea of building connections, not just through Australia, but also in America as well. So,
100%.
so, and that's how like I try to construct on how I did it my way. So now
Yeah.
I've got friends in New Jersey, Texas, California, Hollywood. I've as I said, a couple mates in Hollywood. The one's an actor as well as a comedian, as well as the one wants to do music, and the
Yeah.
other one's a personal trainer. You know, and doing it exactly like this. And I get a lot of people that say to me, "Oh, why don't you do it through Spotify? Why don't you do it through podcast Spotify and stuff like that?" I said, and as much as I do want to do that, not that I'm saying I don't want to do that, but it's
Yeah.
like, I want to practice this as much as I can, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously there are some personal goals that I need to finish
Of
first, right?
course.
That's when I'll be ready to be like, okay, let's get the equipment, let's get
Yeah.
the computer, let's get all of that, let's set up properly, like the proper way, right? But until then, I can only work with what I've got. Like, I've got 2 phones. I guess sometimes I have to use both, whether it's I have to use for like TikTok, one for one phone, and Instagram with the other. I've got 2 ring lights, and also the gold mic that's actually not even plugged in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I get you. But look, that's it though. Like, it's one of those things where it's like that. As artists themselves, I mean, there's always reasons why somebody does what they do. Whether it would be either the lack of resources that they've got, or if it was more so that they had it. This is the plan. They had a particular plan of how they wanted to go about doing things for the time being, and then execute, maybe go along further, and everything else. There's numerous of reasons and all that sort of stuff. I mean, like I said, I respect artists' work and all that, even if it's work that I don't personally understand myself, or why they do that or everything else. But it's kind of like, well, you know what I mean? That's them or whatever, and this is how they're doing it at the moment. And again, there's numerous reasons why everyone does what they do in all that sort of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I want to let you know, man. I think you're doing an amazing job with what you do.
Oh,
All right,
appreciate it, mate. Really do.
and I can tell. Like I've looked at some of your videos and stuff, and I can tell that you're very passionate about what you do, bro. So
Yeah, appreciate that. Really do. Yeah.
now I want to step away from the production side of things for a second. I wanted to ask about you. Like how is your mental health?
My mental health. But it so far it seems I'm pretty good. Look, I'll tell you what, it was better than 2 years ago. You know, I can tell you right now because especially 2022, I was going. You know, it was a hard year. It was actually a hard year for a lot of people. So yeah, like you know, like I was in like a dark place where, you know, I had went through a bad breakup. To you know, it was especially like moving and going through all that sort of stuff, and uh, trying to like that struggle of finding myself and climbing up. You know what I mean? You know, but and then eventually, of course, things have gotten better. But yeah, like so far, touch wood, um, my mental health is pretty on par at the moment. I mean, it's like like it, like I think just recently, like it's I think well, especially I was talking about the whole oneness side of thing. Like I just discovered that just reconnected to that recently, like and like there was one stage where I was like going uh, through my life. I was going through not exactly hate or whatnot, but I was holding a lot of resentment and things I was looking around me that was sort of either annoying me or anything else like that. It was just, I would talk about it a lot. It would just it would get me really rolled up, and I was even searching for other outlets or other either people that felt the same, everything else, and just sort of really accumulate all that until recently, where it was like that I had that realization of the whole oneness of bringing it back in. You know what I mean? Where it was like I could, where it was kind of like, all right, whatever's happening out there, that's what's happening out there. Bring it back into you, bring it back into the one and all that. Focusing, you know, it's kind of like whatever's going on out there, that's their issue, or what they're doing, don't worry about them, or whatever's happening. You know what I mean? It's their issue. Come back into like into yourself, and then when I decided to do that and everything else, my mindset had sort of changed. Mindset sort of changed, and I felt in some cases emotional, and in other cases as well, sort of relieved that I'm like going, well, I'm not having to worry about that anymore. And I was, and you know, you start noticing as well within yourself that you start realizing certain parts of yourself where you're like, wow, like I was holding on to that, or I was holding on to something, you know, or everything else like that. I mean, I was fixated on that or whatever. So it's mentally, my mental health and all that. You know, it's definitely improving and all that. And I think when it comes with spirituality, I'm a very spiritual person. I think that's what I think it's one of the main things of coming back into whole, coming back into oneself. That really um, like keeps you sort of on level,
Keeps you
and,
grounded.
yeah, it keeps you grounded as such. You know what I mean? So whatever you believe in, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
God, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, Oprah, Lady Gaga, whatever you believe in, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like it's, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, that's good, man. Because even with me, like my mental health is much better than it was probably like 6 7 years ago. Like I went from
Yeah.
being broke, like all I wanted was just a full-time job, just to get my money up, and then figure out what I was going to do from there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And even in my earlier years, like it's just like I was very lost. Like I didn't give a shit about life because things weren't
Mm-hmm.
going my way. I
Yeah.
was hating everything. I was just
Mm-hmm.
angry. I was upset. You know, like overthinking with a lot of things. Like the power of overthinking just really just fucks you. It really does,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And
My worst enemy.
yeah, yeah, but then that's when, like, on the spiritual side of things, because I'm Catholic myself, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
Egyptian, but I'm Catholic,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've
Yep.
learned to
Okay.
really build a relationship with God, and really
Yes.
understand that when something is not for me,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
is not for me. And
Absolutely.
if I need to evolve as a person,
Yeah.
God will put me in a situation where it's not for me, and the God will make me realize that this wasn't for me, and he's taking this away because he's got something better.
Absolutely. And I've always sort of been like that as well. And it was sort of like sometimes as well. Like, again, it happened 2 years ago. Um, it was actually before I moved to Melbourne, actually. So I was living in Geelong at the time, and but yeah, like, and I'd always had manifested that um, I wanted to come to Melbourne and everything else like that. And then, fortunately, me and my partner we split, and so I was going through a lot of turmoil through that. But it was funny, like it's funny how God and the universe actually works, especially when it comes to messages. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, for example, um, I knew at that point that things had to move on and things had to move forward. You know what I mean? And as much as I was staying where I was. I started noticing things were closing around me. And it was like, for example, my job was at that point, nearly to the point of losing it. There was little physical signs and all of that, you know what I mean? That was sort of like pointing me into that direction. It was kind of like, it's time to go, or it's time to move and all that sort of stuff. I think, but I think as well, spiritually as well, we it's one of the things that we as humans we forget to do. We forget at times. Like there was a reason why that particular thing had to happen, and it was because the next thing had to happen or whatever. Like you were meant to be at that particular place, even if it doesn't exactly make sense of why you're there. And look, trust me, I've got on my knees and cried to God, why? Why have you done this? I mean, what did I do to deserve this? And blah blah blah. I mean, and and it was kind of like, and then it was coming after coming up realizing it was the fact that I was asking the wrong questions, or I was even sort of like in that point where you're like, well, okay, this is but because yes, we know this particular bad thing had happened to you and all that. Um, but it's if anything, it's growth. It's growth of and look, I can look back now and everything else that I just want to give myself if I could go back in time, I was give myself a big hug and like tell me, go, dude, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be all right. You know what I mean? It sucks. It actually, and a lot of the bad stuff that was happening actually started happening around this time this month, believe it or
oh
not.
wow,
So it was actually, yeah. So it was really hitting home. But it, but yeah, it was, but like comparing to what and where I was at the time to comparing where I am now, like I would have not exactly never thought that it would happen or whatever, but I couldn't necessarily comprehend of like even if I wanted it back then, even if I wanted this to happen, how I was going to do it. And thank God and the universe and all that sort of stuff. It sort of opened up those doors, and unfortunately, certain things had to happen in order for things to sort of trigger. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like even if you go back to the whole going back to the whole like the story of even Jesus or whatever. There was like even one stage where he left Bethlehem, right? And he was, because the prophecy it said that he would go to Egypt. He'll go to Egypt for a particular time and whatnot. And then he would come, and then eventually he would come back or whatever. What I can't necessarily remember what he did in Egypt or whatnot, but whatever was going on, it was kind of like that thing had to get him. That thing had to sort of happen for him to sort of grow in order to come back. And it's like it's funny, even like with celebrity stories as well. Like it was, for example, one of my main inspirations as an actor, and even as a writer as well, Bruce Lee.
Yes.
When he was when he was in the States, he tried to get work. He was even though he was succeeding in the Green Hornet and all that, he tried to get lead roles, but no, at that time nobody was um, had the thought of even making an Asian lead in an American film. So he went back to, but something drew him back to Hong Kong, and they were still showing Green Hornet, but they were calling it the Kato Show. He was doing his thing there. He grew there, and then that's when Hollywood started calling, and what made one of his last films, Enter the Dragon. The moral of that story was he had to go back, or had to go to a particular point where it was like, he had to go through a particular thing in order for that, the next chapter to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
in life, you look at certain things as like, we could read a book and we'd be like, or we sort of have a good idea of what's got to happen or whatever. It's like going, it's kind of like flick the pages, like going, get to the good part, or get to everything else like that. Or there's a good blatant reason that chapter in the middle that you were trying to skip was there in the first place, because there was some valuable lessons that character or that whatever that story was going on had to do, and all of that. But yeah, it's like it's always been like, I think it's, if anything, it's one of those things that we tend to forget. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Certain things or whatever. Like, yeah.
It's all, but I think it's all part of the journey as well.
Yeah.
And I think that patience is a big factor as well, because I think a lot of us, which I think all of us still do to this day, we need to be a bit more patient, because I
Yeah.
think that even us as creatives as well, it's like, we want to get to a particular place or a particular point, and and again, going back to comparing to everyone else, it's like, well, shit, why is this person making it faster than me or stuff like that? I'm trying to do
Yeah.
the same thing, and but it's like, nah, bro, not everyone's journey is going to be the
Pretty
same. I
much.
had it's actually interesting, because I had a conversation with some friends in America,
Yeah.
and we were doing we had like a live on this as well,
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
saying we were talking about how everyone's path is different. Like
Yeah.
yes, as much as we want to see each other win, we want to
Mm-hmm.
be surrounded by people that are winning, right?
Yep.
We have to also be sympathetic and compassionate to the people that their path is obviously a little bit slower,
Yeah.
or obviously because everyone's hustle is going to slow down eventually,
A
right?
hundred
Say
percent.
that say
Yeah.
say that your hustle is faster than mine, right? But then later down the track, your hustle is going to slow down and mine's going to speed up, and I'm going to might even overtake you.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah.
and it works in different ways and stuff like that. And I think that because we pay attention to people's success so much and we compare ourselves to them and stuff like that,
Yeah.
that's when I think it creates the overthinking as well as the impatience.
Well, that's the thing. Like with again, patience is definitely a factor. And it's also like the readiness, really. Like I was watching a interview with Ricky Gervais, all right, and even when he had, even when like the show The Office blew up and everything else, even he was sort of, at that time he was kicking himself, and he was like, "Oh, why didn't I do this like years ago? Or why didn't I do this years ago? This was successful, everything else." And his girlfriend Jane said to him, "Well, because you weren't ready. Like you weren't
Yeah.
ready you weren't ready for that success yet, or you weren't ready to you weren't ready for that particular milestone because you still had some growing up to do and all that. I mean, like, so we we all have, and like it's like, look, with all, like, before started, doing DHP stuff, right? Or forming it as a business, like I was unintentionally making myself a portfolio. Didn't know what I was going to do with it, or everything else, or what was even the purpose of it at that time. But it was something, was kind of like, if I had thought, look, I could have started this like years ago and everything else like that, but it was like, hang on, look at the resources I have now. I sure as hell wouldn't have all that, nor the money to get those resources back then, or even the knowledge or the know-how of how I was going to do it. So I think timing is definitely, you're right, timing's definitely a factor, and I think it's when within, in a sort of a spiritual sense, when the person is ready. You know what I mean? Or it's kind of like that saying, which at first it didn't make sense to me, that the saying of, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. So so it was kind of like, well, it's kind of like the student is, the student really wants this and everything else, blah blah blah, and it's kind of like, or really wants to hit that particular level that everybody else is probably busted their ass doing and all that. It was like going, hang on a minute, hang on, how about we build you up first before, let's build each part of the robot up before we claim it as the Terminator. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's all a process.
Still a process, which raises the question on DHP. Like, so when did it was the moment for you to turn it into a business? Like, did it become as a hobby first, and then when was the moment? Then you think, nah, this is now ready to become an actual business itself.
I think it was more so when, like, I started to realize, like, that what I've got as a business owner, but what I've got, what I can do for people, or what can I do for myself. So and again, it was after when I did, when I started shooting. When I think it was one of the first scenes I shot with Ivory Archer, right?
Okay.
And she put that in DH, and then put DH Productions things or whatnot. And I was even just looking over my stuff and like thinking, well, in order for things to really move ahead, especially move ahead in life, I need to do something. You know what I mean? Like, I need to create momentum. So, and it's kind of, and I've incorporated with a lot of these things in my lifetime as well. Like, even just recently, for about a week or two ago, right? Like, if I'm not filming or editing or whatever, I'm writing. So right now I'm writing 3 novels right now, right? But
Oh
I'll go
wow.
back to it. Yeah, I'll go back to. But I'm going back to each one when it's kind of like the inspiration's there. You know what I mean? So, and I'm like, and I've always thought to myself, he goes, and I've I've always said to myself, look, I want to get back into writing, like, because I have this particular idea, and if it's tomorrow's tomorrow is never promised, so it's kind of like, you know what I mean? Well, before I kick the bucket and leave this bitch, I gotta make sure that this is out there, So I'm not sort of like looking down upon, looking up in the from heaven and thinking to myself, shit, I would have. I would have loved to do that. Like, damn. I mean, oh, sorry, Lord. Sorry for swearing. But yeah, like it. Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like, but yeah, like it was. So, but it was more so of like, well, and again, it wasn't easy. It wasn't. And it was definitely not. It wasn't an easy decision to make. If anything, I felt like, because I was even questioning myself. Am I even ready? Am I even ready to make that step or whatnot? Because I look again, and it comes back to the whole comparison thing, comparing,
Overthinking.
yeah, comparing others, about, because I know a fair few people that have created their own little film companies as well, and they've got a team. they've got a team. I'm doing this solo. So anyway, so it got to that point where it's like, well, no one's sort of hiring me, or no one's sort of, or I've got to offer. Nobody's actually either seeing or either physically seeing what I could do, everything else. All right, well, I'll do my own thing, make my own stuff, and then show you what I've got, and all of that. Like I'm always happy to jump on other people's projects, even as a person that does run his own business. But yeah, like it really got to that point where it's like things aren't moving ahead. Is it fake? Is it is it their problem or my problem? So it was kind of like, right, well, in order for things to move the hand and everything else, and make a profit out of it, which is a bonus, I need to get things moving. I need to start something, and look, have been times where it's kind of like I'd be sitting back and I'd be stressing out of my mind. I'm like thinking, oh my God, I've just started this business and I'm stuck on this particular thing. I'm by myself. How am I going to figure this shit out? Oh my God, this business is a failure. Oh my God, what was I thinking? My mind just kept on going. I'm like, gets in that sort of mind frame of like, fucking hell, what have I done? You know what I mean? Or like, what was I thinking doing this or whatever? But it does calm down eventually when I do figure it out. But it was that stage where it's like, well, no one's got to hire me, you know what I mean? Or no one's got to open a door for me. So I'm going to create my own door and do what I got to do, and then even and then get things moving, get a portfolio going on and a business going on, and eventually things will grow even more. So it was it was definitely at that point after I was just finished was filming a Ivory Archer's video. I was like, right, I'm gonna get things moving here because and I can because I like to I like to create, as I said at the beginning. I love to create. So and it's like, well, I want to at least do something where I have no choice but to do so. You know what I mean? It actually keep me doing this as well wasn't just a fact of one of the main reasons that I decided to make this thing and all that wasn't just the fact of create a portfolio or getting things and everything else. It was also a great distraction tool.
Yeah.
Great distraction tool in the mind of doing something like God and I was. This is what I learned just as in last year and everything else, and actually, it's what motivates me to do what I do. God gave us a gift. God gave us a gift of how we're going to, with when it comes with anything we're doing, when it comes with, for example, music, when it comes with filming, writing, artists, and everything else like that, and we're good at it, and something that we're good at will take God knows how long somebody else to try to do it as well. You know what I mean? It will take so long for them to do it, but this is the gift that God gave us. So it's like, and we're not, and so it's like the God would never have given us gifts if we were just not going to use them. So it's kind of like, well, I'm seeing all these gifts and everything else. Is that right? Well, I better get my ass in gear and sort of impress the big man, and just saying this is the gifts that you gave me and everything else, and I want to make them blossom and make them show. All that sort of sense.
Of course, because I mean, just as you said, everyone that's on this planet has a gift,
100%.
right? And I believe that everyone needs to pursue it because it's that thing that's a part of your soul, right?
Absolutely.
And if you don't do things that is right for your soul, you are going to feel empty.
Yeah, in some cases it kind of disappoints me when I see someone that has a hidden talent, or they have a talent that they know that they're good or whatnot, or everybody knows that they're good, but they don't do anything about it. So, or they would they've got a particular talent, but they would harm themselves, whether it be with smoking, cigarettes, or worst come to worst, drugs. And it's kind of like, why the fuck are you doing that to yourself, man? You've got this, and you're wasting it, because of what? And usually, sometimes there is numbers of reasons for that, either lack of resources or or my personal favorite, lack of knowledge. on how to take that things further and all that. It's more so, it's like, again, it's all about asking the right questions. Ask
Yeah.
the right questions, and the answers will come. So again, like it, and again, I've seen art, as we've all seen, artists over years that have like they've got all these great gifts and everything else, but they just wait. They sort of like either waste it or damage it on bad substances. Like, look, what Whitney Houston. I mean, again, beautiful singer back in the day, but again, what happened to her again because of what she did? It was like, oh dang. And it was the same with Amy Winehouse, even
Same
though that my
thing. Yeah.
personal opinion, she was a ticking time bomb. I was just, as soon as she said they try to make me go to rehab, but I won't go. I'm like going, okay, yep. You're just digging like an early grave on that one, Dale. But again, beautiful singer,
Yeah.
and all that. But again, people tend to waste it, whether whether they're doing something to themselves, or they're not doing anything with it at all. You know what I mean? God
Yeah.
gave them that gift for a reason, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually interesting you were talking about this because I try to encourage a lot of people to really ignore the white noise, right?
Yes.
Because it's not just people doing drugs and stuff like that and harming themselves in any way. It's
Yeah.
also them getting judged by family,
Hmm.
friends, spouse, these types
Yeah.
of things as well, which because in because especially like even as I said, me being Egyptian, because my family were born and raised in Egypt,
Yeah.
and how they see it is they took a risk to come to Australia, so I didn't have to take any risks,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
right? So
No.
and that's but if you mix it, but the problem with that is, I mean, because they want me to be successful, but only through their eyes, not through my
Of course.
eyes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you come to them with the idea of doing something creative,
Yeah.
they're very quick to shut it down or no,
Yeah.
this is stupid or that type of stuff. And I think what happens at the beginning of that's when start to they do things that harm themselves like drugs and stuff like that because they want to feel understood, they want to be surrounded by people that are doing it, but again, as you said, because there's no knowledge, there's no direction
Yeah.
as well,
Hmm.
and that's where I feel like yes, there are some people that are wasting it, but then in saying that, I do feel that there are people out there that do want to be directed in the right direction, but I just feel like they're just surrounded by the wrong types of people. That's all.
Absolutely. Look. With even with me as well. I'm half ethnic myself. Brought up with Southern Frenchman as well. So yeah. So I'm from Southern France. And they even had like the same sort of thing, like same sort of ideas. I mean, I talked to my French grandpa about doing like studying film, doing a course in film. That was very benign to him. That was like, go wait a minute, you can actually get the qualification from that. I mean, what kind of job you get? Huh? What kind of job about what I mean? Very quick to judge because it was something that they could have never occurred back then. That you could either be successful in getting or whatnot, or even how to do it. You know what I mean? So it was like, so even as a kid, right? Like I was, because even when I was telling my dad and my other relatives, European relatives and all that, what I wanted to do, they said, "Oh, okay. So I'm guessing you have to do this, or whatever." So you say you have to be good on stage, to know all these accents, to you have to cry on the spot, or there was so much pressure that they put on me because of what they perceived was supposed to be the definition of what an actor is or whatnot. And you find out years later that definitely wasn't the case.
Mm.
Like, there's plenty of people that can't do what they thought that was, they perceived it was or whatnot, or even remotely think that that was even possible. But it does come to that stage of like, yeah, there is that sort of negative pressure, and all of that. I mean, it's kind of like, yeah, mate, you're wasting your money. Mate, you're wasting your time with that one. Go and be a plumber. Go and do this. Go and do that. It's very. I think it's at first I thought it was a very woke thing or whatever, that the way I was brought up and all that. But I think it's also, I think it was more so on the working man mentality. You know what I mean? Because back then you had to be good with your hands if in order to get work, or in order to get money and all that sort of stuff. Nowadays it's you need hands and brains. Now and yeah, it's so it was. It depends with the generations and the people that we grew up with because of the lack of knowledge that they've got in that industry as well. So they would have had no clue, that even the stuff that I'm doing that I could even make money out of, or even remotely think that wait, there's people out there that actually, they're actually wanting this or whatnot, and it's kind of like it's a big surprise to all of them and all that. It's just their lack of knowledge of how that particular person could achieve something like that. You know what I mean? And they're scratching their heads thinking, okay, they're wanting to do this. I'm worried. I mean, are they going to be staying home for the rest, staying here the home the rest of their lives, or blah blah blah? You know what I mean? Like, questions are always going to be rowering up, or like, kind of like, okay, um, what is, you know what I mean? Something that isn't necessarily they feel probably can't make money because they can't see it. They're thinking, oh, maybe not. You do something else, so you know what I mean. So yeah,
Yeah. If well,
understandable.
yeah, because if you look at like grandparents and great grandparents, that was the era of still building the country.
Yeah,
You
that's
know what
it.
I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
they had this mentality on working with your hands shows that you are a hard worker, and that
Yeah,
presents that's real like that's real wealth because you're working with your
of
hands
course.
and
Yeah,
building something and building with the world, right?
yeah, absolutely.
But what I feel that they forget is that the world changes all the time, especially when it comes to technology. Things that have changed, and even nowadays, it's made things to make us, build things better, smarter. Which I've always asked the question to a lot of people
Yeah,
is if we respect the hard. Sorry, hang on. Let me start it again.
go ahead.
If the phrase "work harder," sorry, fucking hell, if the phrase work smarter, not harder exists,
Mm.
would we still get respect as the people that work harder?
See, that is a pretty good question. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, it is something that I would have to really think about as well. Like, look, we
Right?
could work hard at we could work hard at something, everything else,
Mm.
but if we have no idea how to progress that through, then what are we doing it for? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we can, it's kind of like, look, we could work with what we got to the max and everything else. But if we're not even having the know-how to even expand on that, or how that we could take that further, it really, yeah, it is that question. I'm just looking at these comments as well.
Yeah,
I reckon
Colin.
something. Yeah, to be yeah, yeah, absolutely to proceed with. Yeah, yeah, I agree. So it's just, yeah, it is, like, yeah, like it's, that's why one of my favorite books, that I've listened to God knows how many times, 50 Cent's book, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter.
Yes.
Um, Definitely recommend anybody read that book, read or listen or whatever. And he goes into a lot of those aspects as well. And that's, I'm big on balance. I'm big on balance as a liberal as well. That's kind of why as well. But it's, but yeah, you sort of need that both. You need that hustle, like have that hustle hard mentality, but also you want to make sure that you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? So you need the toughness, need that sort of hardness and toughness or whatnot, and then you also need the knowledge and know-how. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's grabbing two it's grabbing two elements and putting them into one. You know what I mean? If you have
Yes.
aiming on one particular thing, you'll get results, but it may not be the same results if you would have had the other element. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's
they
an
work
interesting
hand in hand.
one, isn't it? It's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, we'll have to wrap this up, Danny,
Mhm.
man. And first of all, I want to say thank you so much again. Is there anything else you want to add, or anything you want to ask me, anything you're curious about me, or anything like that before we wrap it up?
I think the show seems pretty straightforward. I mean, to me, it was pretty dope. I'm always love, as you can tell, always love talking out my ass as well. And but yeah, again, like I said, I actually want to thank you as well for giving me the time of night. Actually,
Yeah, hell yeah.
time of night to get hopefully again like what we discussed before. Hopefully to inspire somebody out there or whatever of what we do and how we go with things or whatnot. It's yeah, but no, I know it's a great show, great show. Definitely would love to. I'll definitely spread the word and definitely would love to come back sometime.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, man, absolutely. And I'll even what I'll do, I'll even spread the word for you as well, man.
I appreciate it.
I'll let some of the rappers know, especially in the break and break community
Yeah, yeah,
as well, to hit you up if they want to do like music videos and stuff like that, and then you can talk
hundred
to them
percent.
about this type of stuff, man. But
That'd be great. Too.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
bro. But we'll wrap this up now. I want to say thank you so much for the people that have
yeah.
joined in, especially to
Absolutely.
viewing
Thank
in.
you.
And go follow this man. This man is a creative. This guy does he's very passionate, man, and you can tell in his voice and in his story that he's very passionate what he does. So but I also want to let you know, sir, that you are a successful person. I'm just going to let you know that right now, because
Appreciate that. Yeah,
my definition of successful person is that you're doing something that you love doing.
yeah.
You're getting your results, whether it's minor or major, and you are growing. That is a successful person.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I do appreciate that, and same goes to you as well. I mean, because how long you were saying you were doing this for?
That's 6 years
Yeah,
total.
six. Yeah, dude. I mean, like, and whether it's the same concept of like, hey, doing it with like on Insta and everything else, to keep on doing that long and it really connects. I mean, yeah. I mean, for going hard that long and everything else, and still doing it, I mean, is definitely worth applauding. Absolutely. So
I,
yeah, definitely back at you, man.
Thank you. I
Definitely back at you. Yeah.
appreciate you, bro. But so you enjoy the rest of your night, and you have a good weekend, and we'll definitely chat soon,
You
man.
too, man. Peace out. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one, guys.
Right. See
Peace.
you, guys.